Welcome back to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We bring you the Fantasy Game Day Wildcard Weekend tips for the Wildcard Classic version of Fantasy Game Day. A little bit different this week. We'll get into the details in a second. We're going to bring you our top tips from the UK's best and fastest growing NFL daily fantasy platform, Fantasy Game Day. And you can sign up for some playoff fun using promo code COVER. Use that, you'll get a free entry after your first play to the value of £7.50 in your account. And yeah, if you're a newbie to daily fantasy or a seasoned veteran, there's lineups and games for you, all the way from £3 a lineup to 25 quid a pop. But make sure you join in the UK's best and fastest growing daily fantasy game. 18 years or over, got to be in the UK. And of course, please gamble responsibly. Slightly different format this week from the traditional Sunday Stars. It's the Wildcard Classic game, covering all 6 games from Saturday to Monday. It's £5 an entry for this version. Different build as well. You have a £35,000 budget. No captain in this one. It's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, and a tight end. So a slightly different build to your team as well. But we're going to give you our quarterback, running back / tight end, and wide receiver tips. Joe, hit him. Byron, let's start with you for your quarterback selection.
Yep, I've got Matthew Stafford coming in at 6,400. The quarterback 5 pricing on the weekend. The pretty simple for me. The Rams have the biggest team implied total in the week, 28.5 points, 1.5 over the Buffalo Bills, which is the second. Matthew Stafford's a quarterback 3 on the season, and yet he's quarterback 5 just on this slate alone. Doesn't quite make sense to me. And I kind of love the idea of Sean McVay getting a second look at a defense. I don't think he's super talent strong, the Panthers defense. Obviously, they've come into the playoffs with a losing record. Yes, Stafford had a bad day out there a number of weeks ago now. But I don't trust that to repeat. I think there's some very big interception luck. The Rams are at full strength. Devon Adams is back. Tyler Higbee back with a touchdown last week. They're firing at full strength. Can pick whatever personnel package they want. I think Stafford cooks an awful lot here at quarterback 5 pricing.
Excellent. Joe?
Yeah, I've got Jordan Love at 5,000. I was shocked that his price is that low for Jordan Love, especially against this Bears defense, who in the last 5 games, 3 of the games they've conceded more than 300 passing yards, and the only 2 games was Shadur Sanders and Jordan Love and Malik Willis when Love got injured. The last time Love played the Bears fully fit, he threw for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he got 4 touchdowns before that against the Lions. I think they're going to be able to throw on this Bears defense, and if he can keep his interceptions down, I think at 5,000 is such a cheap option for. I think he's going to gunsling because he loves this kind of games, and we've seen him in the playoffs against your Dallas Cowboys and against my 49ers, where he loves the occasion and he loves to throw it down the field. And I think this Bears defense was the 6th worst against QBs in fantasy points per game, so I think it's going to be lots of points for Jordan Love throwing it down the field. So 5,000, I think it's a great price.
Excellent. I've gone for the most expensive quarterback on the slate. I've gone for Josh Allen, 7,800. Matching, it was maybe a tough matchup here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, the Jaguars, I think probably the best rushing defense in the NFL yards per game. Yeah, only give up 86 yards a game on the ground. So yeah, best in the NFL. So I think they're going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more at the Bills, and you still get the red zone rushing threat of Josh Allen as well, even against a good rushing defense. So I think it's going to be all on Josh Allen. He might have to run the ball more. He's going to have to throw it more, and I think he's going to be more Josh Allen running in the red zone. So I'm going to take Josh Allen to put the Buffalo Bills on his back, as he usually does in these spots, and I think it could be a big haul for Josh Allen. Let's go to our wide receiver tips. Joe, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I've got the man himself, the third down king, Keenan Allen at 3,200. I think it's, again, another cheap option for someone who I believe is going to get tagged a lot. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, so you're going to go for your targets, who you trust. I know Herbert wasn't playing last week, but he was targeted 13 times last week and caught it 7 times. And in the last few games, he's been around 3 to 7 targets with not huge yards, but I think this kind of game in the playoffs against where I think it's going to be a tight game, you're going to want to target your probably number 1 wide receiver in terms of just the short yardage. It's more about the amount of targets and the amount of catches he has, where I think at that price he could be a great shout to just slide in and then go for your big, high expensive players elsewhere.
Excellent. I'm going to go next. It's Nico Collins for me. The Texans at the Steelers on Monday night. I think we talked about it in the preview. The Texans O-line is gradually, and it's been getting better. And we saw a little bit of deep passing from the Texans a couple of weeks ago against the Chargers in the game that ultimately kind of sealed their playoff spot. And I think ultimately, as dangerous as the Steelers front can be, I think the Texans O-line can hold them off enough to give CJ Stroud some time. And then the Steelers secondary has just been getting burned all season long. An uncharacteristically horrendous Pittsburgh Steelers pass defense. They give up 243 a game. That's good for 29th in the NFL. Not great. And I think the players that are in there, your Jalen Ramsey, and so Nico Collins is going to burn. So 5,800 Nico Collins, I think he can have a monster game here against the Steelers. Byron?
Yeah, not for the first time. I'm going Luther Burden, who comes in at wide receiver 20, pricing at £3,200. Since week 13, he is a wide receiver 19 in points per game in this format. And on the metric side of it, since week 13, he is second in yards per route running the entire NFL, second only to Puka Nacua. Puka comes in 4.61, Luther Burden 3.79. Parker Washington, George Kittle, Watson, Steph Diggs, AJ Brown below that. I think he's just a star waiting to ascend at this point. He leads the Bears in team yardage in that time, despite being third in targets. If he gets more targets, I think the line just continues to go up. I think there's an explosion waiting to happen for Luther Burden. He had one a few weeks ago, but I think in the playoffs we might see him take off again. So, yeah, Luther Burden at 3,200 is my call.
Excellent. And running back / tight ends. Joe, here you go.
Yeah, go first. I've got Saquon Barkley at 6,200. If you heard you should have heard our preview for the wildcard weekend. We talked about the Niners' lack of tackling and their injuries have got to the linebackers. Byron's put a nice little bet on Barkley to get 100 yards, and I think he could do that. The Seahawks against them last week got 180 yards rushing. They rushed for 39 times, and they rushed a lot of times on first down. They'll just gain chunk yard after chunk yard, and I think that's what the Eagles should do. Obviously, it depends a lot on Lane Johnson. I think it's wide that he's 50-50 if he's going to play. If he does play, I think that offensive line just gets better, and they're going to be able to run the ball all over this 49ers team. And I think at 6,200, it's a nice price for Barkley where he could pop off, because the last few weeks he's had at least over 50 yards and two of them has been over 120 and getting a touchdown. So, I can see Barkley having a huge game for a running back. The price is at.
Excellent. And I suppose did Byron go? Need to go. I thought you'd been, and you clearly hadn't.
I haven't, no. So I'm going for the running back 14 on the slate, Amarian Hampton at £4,000. He didn't practice Thursday, so that is a worry. But presuming he goes, I think it's a great call here. In weeks 13 through 17, the Patriots gave 29 points, which is the fourth worst in the league, to running backs. In that time, they gave up at least 15 points to Devin Singletary, James Cook, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. Not nobody's, other than Devin Singletary, but players that I think Amarian Hampton is loosely the equal of. Maybe not Derrick Henry, but Breece Hall, James Cook. I think Amarian Hampton can get there. Running back 14, I think is a great value play, and can. I think he'll outplay Kamani Vidal if he's fit to go. I don't think there'll be much of a rotation in such a high-end matchup. Excellent.
I've got Kyron Williams, somebody who's not really featured too much in our fantasy game day tips really through the season, but he still had a fairly solid year. Panthers are pretty middle of the road, rush defense. I wonder if McVay changes up things a little bit, having to again seen the Panthers in week 13 and started with the turnovers. The secondary actually played quite well for the Panthers. I wonder if he, early doors especially, just tries to run through them. I think Kyron Williams could have a busy day, particularly in the red zone as well. So where I think even more attention will be placed on Devontae Adams. He's got NFL leading 14 touchdown receptions. Maybe the Panthers just try and completely close that off in the red zone, and then maybe that's where we start checking out into some runs, and that could be where a couple of touchdowns for Kyren Williams justifies his price of £5,400. Excellent. That is our Wildcard Weekend Fantasy Game Day 10-minute tips. Best of luck, whichever version of the game you are playing. Make sure you are using our promo code. If you have not signed up already, and again, considering this is our 19th week of doing this, insane if you haven't. But use the promo code. You get free entry after your first play. Got to be 18 years or over, of course, in the UK. And please do gamble responsibly. And we'll see you on Tuesday morning for our Wildcard Weekend Review show.